What's up, guys? Oh boy. Like a lot of you, a few days ago I started seeing a few Reddit threads asking what was happening at Atos HQ. It looked like multiple people had left the academy and there was some serious accusations being discussed. And as the day went on, we started getting more information. This was quite heavy and it's really sad news for the BJJ community. Now, I'm not going to go into every detail here. I'll put up the screenshots on the screen in chronological order and you can see the information for yourself. But in short, a young athlete named Alexa Hersey that trains at Atos has come forward with a public statement alleging very inappropriate behavior by Andrea Galvan during training. She says there's other young women involved, although they haven't come forward. These are still allegations, they are still being denied, the situation is still ongoing, and I encourage you to read the full statements. Now, I was talking to a friend today and a training partner, and I was saying to him, we're probably one or two mainstream cases away from this becoming a serious problem for Jiu-Jitsu as a whole. I mean, this is an issue already, but I'm talking about it becoming a mainstream issue. On one hand, I want potential victims in BJJ to come forward and feel safe. On the other hand, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about the damage that it could do to the sport and how it's perceived to the public. To be clear, I don't think there is a problem in BJJ. I just think that obviously people are finally coming out. These sort of allegations exist in pretty much every sport. You know, if you look at the Olympics, the wrestling team, the Ohio wrestling team in US. So these sort of issues have always happened and they will always happen, unfortunately. But Jiu-Jitsu is a very is a close contact body to body grappling art, so it makes these situations more vulnerable to abuse when bad actors are involved. Predators exist everywhere, and when you give a predator authority and influence, that's a dangerous combination. When I look at these cases, I always think, what turns someone into a predator? Is it that they get drunk on power and stop seeing any wrongdoing in their actions? Or is it that they have those tendencies anyway and they just get into a position of authority that just gives them opportunity to cover? I think usually it's a mixture of both. A lot of these guys become predators because they keep getting away with it. It may start with a little flirting sometimes, you know. I'm sure it doesn't go only one way. I'm pretty sure there are certain situations where the student is the one flirting with the instructor, and that's how the line gets crossed sometimes. Maybe it begins with one relationship that shouldn't have happened, and then it becomes a pattern where the instructor is actually seeing students as potential partners instead of people they're responsible for. And then he maybe gets away with one, and then he tries something else with another, and he keeps pushing it. Now, with this situation, Alexa is 18 years old, and apparently this has been happening for a while. So perhaps when she was underage. I mean, this is a guy in his 40s, and it's utterly disgusting. Now, I'm not just talking about this situation, but predatory behavior in gyms as a whole. Craig Jones has spoken about this a lot. He's actually said before where he doesn't want his instructors or his students to get into a relationship with each other. He's even talked about an agreement where if a student leaves because of someone else in the gym, that someone has to pay the membership for the rest of the year. Policies like that may sound extreme to some people, but if you're trying to create boundaries and reduce the risk of abuse of power, then that might be the way to go. Now, if you've been training martial arts for over 10 years like I have at different gyms, not just BJJ, you know there are always a few guys that are just a bit off with women. You know what I mean? They act weird. As soon as they see a woman, a new girl at the gym, they act weird. Sometimes they get a little bit touchy. I can think of two guys just on top of my head. There's always an angle with them, there's always a vibe, and you know, as those guys get promoted to higher belts, their authority in the room grows, and with that, obviously, it can get problematic. This isn't more prominent in Jiu-Jitsu right now. These sort of stuff has always happened. I've always heard stories, even back in the day on Reddit, of major players in BJJ having cases like this. BJJ wasn't as popular, and some of those guys are still teaching today. That's why it's so important for women or any victims to come forward when there's predatory behavior. Predators need to feel consequences. Boundaries have to be clear and they have to be enforced. At the same time, I understand there's always a grey area and complicated situations. There are plenty of cases where teachers end up marrying their students. We have an example with Rena Gracie and the Valenti brother, and many more. So at some point, someone had to flirt back, and that's where the ethics get tricky when there's a relationship in the gym. My hope is that we get to the bottom of this, and anyone that's been harmed gets justice and support, and hopefully, from 2026 onwards, we see a real improvement on how the community handles this. I can't imagine what the girls are going through, or their parents, and I can't imagine what Galvan's daughter, I believe her name is Erica, what she's going through. She's the same age as this other girl. She's 18 years old. So it's an awful situation for everyone involved. I just hope that the truth comes out and the right things are done, and hopefully the BJJ community will improve.